here with Jack, and for those of you that don't know Jack, Jack is our 6-year-old Canadian sport horse approved stallion. We bought Jack when he was 5 months old from the Fall Classic sale in Alberta, and my husband and I have basically done everything with Jack since the time that we bought him. He's a pretty good boy. Today I thought I would demonstrate how I lunge a horse. So you guys can't see because the video is a bit far away, but I have Jack currently wearing a rope halter. I start in a rope halter basically with all of the horses because I like the fact that it applies face pressure and not mouth pressure if they make a mistake. It's soft enough that when they're well behaved it doesn't harm them, but it also has enough control that if they misbehave or they try and get away from you, you have enough control. So he's got the rope halter on under his bridle, and then I actually clip my lunge line to the rope halter. So I don't really have much communication with his bit, which I find works well for him, and that's how I started him as a young horse. He's also got side reins on. I use the side reins pretty loosely, so for him they're on the third last hole. He's quite a big horse, but I just keep them nice and light so that they create boundaries, but that there's not really some restrictions. He's got a pair of front boots on, but he's not shod, so he doesn't have any bell boots. And then my saddle today doesn't have any stirrups. And not that that's particularly important for him, but I have been also working with some of the younger horses, and that can be particularly important for them. So today I'm just going to go ahead and go through a fairly basic lunging session with Jack and show you how I do that. I thought I would make these videos because during this pandemic, everybody is sitting at home, and maybe some of you would like to see this, maybe some of you are bored, maybe some of you would like to see what my horses are like at home. So I just thought, I'm out here every day, so I'm obviously at my home farm. I'm out here every day anyways doing this work, so I might as well video, and then I can post it for you, and hopefully some of you will find it useful. The EC might cringe at some of the ways I hold all of my things, or that they rest on the ground. But I've worked a lot with Jack, and he is fairly good on the lunge. And I trust him pretty well. So what I'm going to do here is I'm actually just going to walk him forward a few steps so that he's in a better position to start. And then I'll send him out at the walk. And as I'm starting, I'm going to keep the circle relatively small, just to make sure that he's paying attention to me, doesn't get too wild. If he does get wild on a smaller circle, I'm going to be able to control him a little more easily. And my purpose for lunging isn't maybe what you see in modern horse training. You know, my purpose for lunging isn't to make him tired. I use lunging with Jack specifically as a training aid. He has most of his winters off because we don't have an indoor. So in the spring, I'll use lunging as a way to get him fit and just get him kind of back into work. And it's a really great training tool to have him lunge well, so that in the event if he's ever in public and I need to lunge him, that he's well trained, which he is for the most part. So you can see here in my ring, I have a round pen kind of set up with my jumps. Jack doesn't necessarily need the round pen, but the younger horses do when they start lunging, so that you're not getting pulled around the ring. So it's just easier to work in a small enough space. When I start lunging, I like for them to go out at the walk. My probably biggest pet peeve in lunging is if they start and they just bolt off and kick out, and that's when you can really risk getting hurt. Again, also when you're working on a smaller circle, so I'm probably on a 20-30 meter circle, it can be harder on the horses. So when they start running on a small circle, that can be hard on their bodies. So I like it all to be really super controlled. He can find his own balance. It's a nice relaxation exercise for him. So I'm going to go ahead and ask him to trot. I try and use the same voice commands, especially when I'm starting a young horse, so that my voice commands then transfer over to when I ride them, because I'll always try and lunge them first and get them used to the lunge and the saddle and the bridle and the lunge, and then hopefully my words they understand better. So go ahead and ask him to trot. Trot. And you can see there he's very responsive to my voice. And here I don't want him to blast off into canter. So if he does, I'll bring him back to the trot or the walk and start again. So as you can see, as I'm lunging, I'm kind of making a bit of a V with my arms. So my left hand is following his mouth, or in this case, the rope halter, and my right hand with the whip is following him behind. So if he gets a little slow, I might even just raise my whip, and he'll notice that and move a little bit more forward. So this is a pretty good trot. He normally likes to start out quite slow, so this is good. He's tracking up. It's a little inconsistent in his pace, but I assume that as he kind of settles into the lunge, he'll find a more even rhythm, or I'll be able to control it a little better. You might notice that the ring has a slight slope, so now he's going down the slope. And then on the opposite side, by the other fence line, he's going up the slope, which I actually really like, because it does make them have to work a little bit on their balance, and just, anytime you can do hill work with a horse is great. So this is a pretty good trot. One of the things that I look for in the trot is that it's relaxed and that it's consistent. And Jack's a little confused today that I'm talking so much, so you'll see his left ear kind of flicker to me a lot. But when I ask him for a different gait, I want that left ear, that inside ear, on me. So I'm going to ask him for a downward transition, and normally the first one I will expect to be a little delayed, so we'll see how we do. Oh, walk, good boy. He proved me wrong. So as you can see, I use my voice. I tell him what I want, and then when I do the downward transition, I try and keep my body relatively still. And again, back to the trot. Trot. Good boy. So he's just passing what would be the gait of the ring or the round pen. He's not very gait sensitive. One of the nice things about this horse is he's not herd bound. He likes to work, but with the younger horses that are herd bound, they really like to try and exit out that side of the round pen, or at least try. But the reason I bring that up is because I might take into consideration if he starts slowing down a lot there and getting distracted by the outside world, I might send him forward, or just kind of take note of that. Good boy. So what I like here is he's maybe starting to stretch a little bit. As he stretches, I send him forward. So again, the concept is leg to hand, the side reins being the hand. Good boy. I like to see him stretch. It's not something he's great at. I like to see him relaxed, and I like to see him chew the bit a little bit, mouth the bit, show me he's relaxed. At the beginning, we could hear a few times where he was blowing his nose. Jack's a pretty relaxed guy for the most part. So maybe next time around, on the camera side, I'll ask him for a downward transition. Pretty happy with that. And walk, good boy. I'll let him have a little walk break here for a second. So as you can see, it's all very controlled, which I like. It's not always controlled. When I make these videos, they may not be perfect. I'm not going to edit out the challenging parts, even when I'm doing the young horses, because one of the things that I've found is that people only post the videos of like their best moments. And that's a really hard thing to learn from. I think if all you're ever seeing is perfection, you don't know how the professionals handle trouble. So it's important to me that you guys see how I handle it. Might not always be correct or incorrect. So I've lost his focus here a little bit. Again, my setting isn't perfect. It's not going to be perfectly quiet. For those of you that know, I live on a farm. The neighbors have quite a few animals. You might even hear some cows or some pigs at some times. So it's not a perfectly quiet environment for horse training, which I don't mind because you end up with horses relaxed like this eventually. Doesn't always start out so relaxed. I'll go back to trot. Trot. Good boy. So this is day 2 of lunging for him. Yesterday on day 1, I just lunged in the rope halter, no side reins, no saddle, no bridle. I just lunged in the rope halter because if he was going to play a little bit, I didn't want it to be harsh punishment. If he was going to be playful and he was going to be fresh, I was expecting that. And then today my expectations are a little higher, that he needs to listen. I keep losing his attention over there. We've got one young horse in the barn that's calling to the other young horses, so makes it a bit distracting. And you can see that Jack's mane is very luscious and long. Definitely needs a mane pull. But again, like I said, everything's not perfect, and that's okay. We do the best with what we have. And when it's time for him to go in public, he will be perfectly turned out. Good. So I'm going to go ahead and ask him for a canter transition. And when I'm lunging, I don't do a lot of canter. Again, good boy. Try and tell him he's good when he stretches. Again, canter on a small circle can be hard, and more so I'm looking for transitions. I'm not really looking for lots and lots of canter. So I might ask him the next time he comes down by the fence. So it's flat ground the first time. Canter, good boy. So as you can see there, I used a kissing noise versus a cluck. And ho, good boy. I'm really proud of this horse. He's really smart. And, I wish we had some horse shows to go to so he could get to his first show. But for now, we'll do the training and we'll be better for it. I'm going to ask for the canter again once he passes the gate. Canter, good boy. For me, I'm just looking for him to be responsive. Gets a little wild there. Oh, good boy. He might be a little bit distracted with how much I'm speaking, which is okay. Again, he's got to get used to distractions. Good boy. I'm actually really happy with that canter work for today, or on that rein. So I'm just going to let him finish with a little trot before we change the direction. So the nice thing about the rope halter as well is you don't have to take it off to change direction. If you're going to do the Barnum method that goes over from the side to side of the bit over the pole, you have to take it off to change direction. With the rope halter, you don't have to. Good boy. Ooh, walk, good boy. The other thing that's nice about Jack is he's big, which is great because I'm almost 6 feet tall. But he's light. He's a bit of, for a big horse, he's a light mover. He's just got the greatest temperament. He's always had the greatest temperament. And this is the first horse I've ever started from scratch by myself. And I think I maybe spoiled myself a little bit because he was pretty easy. And I'm going to ask him to stand. And this would be pet peeve number 2, is if they don't stand parallel to you at the end. And oh, good boy. He's making me proud today. I'm always proud. Again, I tell him he's a good boy. Me, you're a good boy. I have to be a little bit careful when I change direction because he is a stallion, so he's a bit mouthy. So I just have to make sure that he walks with me, not behind me. His favorite thing is to walk behind me and then take a little snack. Good boy. Hold. So I just change him. Very good. So he's a good boy. All right, buddy. Walk on. Good. And again, starting at the walk on a small circle. My side reins are the same length on both sides. Again, loose. Some people like to shorten the one to the inside to keep the horse a little bit bent. To keep it simple, I just leave it the same. I check my side reins every few weeks to make sure that one's not more stretched than the other so that they're truly even. So if I need to go hole 4 on one and hole 3 on the other, I've actually had these side reins from Green Hawk, I think since I broke Jack when he was like 2 or 3. So a few years anyways, and they've lasted a long time. So you can see here again, he's walking out nice, which is great. He's not going wild, which I appreciate. Good boy. He's actually got a bit of saliva, which is good. He's kind of chewing the bit and thinking about it. And he's got a really soft mouth when you ride him, but it's kind of, he spooks there because the cat's in the bush. Again, not a perfect scenario. Oh, and oh, walk. Good boy. And there. So he got a little spooked because a few cats too looked like they ran out of the bush. Normal that he would react. But then I like the fact that even though he's a bit spooked, his reaction is to listen to me and do as I ask. So I appreciate that. The cats seem to surprise him more than, for example, the pig that was ringside last week. Good boy. All right, I'm going to ask him for trot. Trot. Ooh, not very good. Maybe I didn't have him forward enough in the walk, so that's maybe my fault. Trot. Good boy. That's better. I do find that he's usually a little bit more willing to stretch on the right rein. Now, when I lunge, I alternate which side I start. So, for example, yesterday I would have started right, finished left. Today I started left and I'll finish right. The reason for that is I find if they are going to be fresh, that you end up spending more time first direction. And I don't want that to be always on the left side. Very good. Again, a really nice trot going here. Yeah, he hits the side reins a little bit and then has to kind of drop back down, which is great. Love it if he stayed there, but he's only an animal and he'll kind of work through that. Good boy. Let out my lunge line a little bit. And ho. Walk. Good boy. A little slower reaction there, but not terrible. Trot. Good boy. I don't know that it matters so much that you say trot or canter. I think it just matters that you say a word with an inflex on it. Good boy. But again, I like to use the same method all the time. My method might be different than yours, or maybe it's very similar. And then I try and use the same method when I'm on their back, or maybe If I had the luxury of having a grounds person, maybe the grounds person would use the same words so that when they lunge me on the horse the first time, they would have the same language. Or vice versa. If somebody comes to help me start young horses, they'll be trained to my voice aids, which I think is helpful, especially the whoa. Good boy. I'm going to ask him for the downward transition down the hill. And ho, walk. Good boy. Good. So there you could hear me probably say good boy as he was starting to walk. And the reason I do that is to start the positive encouragement. So he's starting to slow down. I want him to know that's what I'm looking for. Let him have a walk break. You can see that the ring's a bit dusty, which isn't terrible. It's going to rain on Sunday, so that'll help. But I'm also a believer in riding in all types of surfaces. So this is just sand and a bit of limestone, and it has served us quite well for the purpose of starting young horses. It wouldn't be long-term for a horse like Jack, who's going to jump a bit bigger. Ideal for jumping, and the ring's not huge, but for this purpose it's great. Lots of walking, lots of hacking is always really good for the young horses. All right, cheer up. Good boy. I cheated there and said all right to let him know it was coming. Figured it was fair. Good. So this is all looking really good. He's been actually quite relaxed the whole time, other than the little cat excursion there. I'll go ahead and do a little canter work. I walk a little bit while I lunge. A lot of people are like, oh, you shouldn't stand in the middle. It's good exercise. I don't mind it. So I'll ask him down at the bottom on the flat ground. Canter. Good boy. Try and go full rotation. Oh, good boy. And again, in the downward transition, my body stops moving. So another good way for him to learn when I want him to slow down or when I want him to keep going. If I'm moving, he's moving. If I'm not moving, he needs to slow down. Good. So I'm going to ask him for the canter transition up the hill this time. So 3, 2, 1. Canter. Good boy. And down the hill. Great. Super responsive today. I'm really happy with that. He listened to all of my cues, even there where he got a little spooked with the cats. Really happy with that. Good boy. So I'll let him finish up with a little more trot. He hears my voice a little bit speaking, and he thinks he's supposed to be changing, so he gets a bit confused, but that's okay. Good boy. If you're starting young horses or you have any horses, don't beat yourself up on having perfect facility or perfect setting or perfect indoor or perfect outdoor. Make your process consistent and positive, and your results will exceed your downfalls. Like I said here, it's very humble, but I've trained this horse in this setting, and he's quite lovely. Our goal when we started breeding horses, not that we bred him, but our goal when we started breeding horses in 2016 was to breed a horse that I would like to ride, and unbeknownst to us at the time, we didn't need to breed any because we already had him, and I love to ride him. But he's the first horse I ever started from scratch. Walk. So I'm excited to keep working with the ones that we have bred and see if I have the same connection with the rest of them. And I'll ask him to stop. Oh, it's probably my favorite part about how he lunges is he's so good at the stand, and he's always been good at it. I don't know how you would teach it, but I guess I'm probably going to learn here pretty soon. Good boy. That's a nice job today. All right, thanks so much. See you next time.